it's Hannah. Today, I want to join you with a vanilla coconut latte, a Bosch brownie, and a chat about triggers and how to stop comparing yourself to other people. Something that I struggle with a lot during my recovery, but something that should not be getting in your way. Let's do this. So, hi, I'm joining you today from my lunch break. A lunch break that I wouldn't normally share on social media because it's a very busy day. And on very busy days, I don't normally have time to vlog. These are the days that don't normally make it onto social media. These are the days that might include a bit more junk food, a bit more convenience food, a bit less me time. And it's the stuff I don't show. Not purposely, of course. It's the stuff that doesn't make it there because I'm too busy. Other days that might not make it onto social media are days where I'm treating myself and I don't want to be distracted by a camera. Or days where I'm out with friends, treating myself in whole other ways, also without wanting to have a camera there, detracting from the experience. What I'm trying to say is that the things you see from my life are often the days where I work from home, or days where I have more time to cook, or days where I can go to the gym, or where I can cook a healthy homemade meal. However, that's just a day in the life. That's not, by far, my whole life. And it's important to acknowledge that because I think what I eat in a day videos can be great, but they can also be quite toxic. They're a single day in a single person's life, and every day is different, every person is different. People have different needs on different days at different times. It's normal and it's important to acknowledge that. Also, just because you see me eating healthy pasta dishes or rice dishes or potatoes doesn't mean that I don't also enjoy pizza or chips or burgers. Likewise, if you compare yourself to your mum, your sister, your friend, whoever it is you compare yourself to, you're comparing yourself to that single meal in their day, and it may not represent their whole eating pattern. What's more, even if it did represent their whole eating pattern, they might have very different needs from you, and especially during recovery, your needs may be much higher than someone else's, and much higher than your needs may be once you're recovered. For that reason, it's important not to compare yourself with others, even though eating disorders are inherently, incredibly competitive and rely on comparison to perpetuate themselves. Today is the day after I finally posted a video on YouTube again. A video showing you what I eat on a day where I eat 3,500 calories. A day where I followed a meal plan. Not because I track normally, but just to show you that it's okay to follow a meal plan. It can be really helpful to follow a meal plan. And there's nothing wrong with eating this number of calories. However, some of the comments were a bit nasty about my appearance, about my intake, about a whole range of things. And I'm here to tell you that, newsflash, I am not responsible for your triggers. I try to make my content obviously as helpful as possible. I want to be there for as many people as possible. But everyone will get triggered by something, and it's inevitable. Equally, those nasty comments, whilst they do bring me down, well, the same applies to me. I need to remember that none of you should be responsible for my triggers. And whilst the comments don't trigger my eating disorder, that's something I've long left behind. Even if some of you might contest this, it can still bring me down, and I need to remind myself that it is only me who's responsible for my own happiness. It is only me who is responsible for my own path, my own journey, and for that reason, it's really important to remind myself of my goals. Try not to think just of the food or just of the negative comments or whatever it is, but try to focus on what else you're gaining from eating this food. For example, food freedom, the ability to go out with friends for a meal or a drink, the ability to have the mind space for other things other than food, things that are so much more important than food. As for me, when I receive these comments, I try to remind myself of the people who do benefit, of the people who find the content super beneficial and for whom I'm putting out this content. So shift your focus. For me, that has also meant focusing more on my one-to-one coaching at the moment. Something that provides a lot of individualized attention, a lot of value, and which I too really value. So what could you focus your attention on? Is there a project? Do you feel like you've got a bigger purpose? These can all be really good. Focus on those things every single day. Write down a list of all the things you will gain from recovery. Write down a list of all of the things you can finally leave behind that the eating disorder is limiting you to. Also, write down a list of your other goals, things that at the moment seem very much out of reach, but that once you're freer, once you have grown in your life and your development, will be within reach. It's so important to remind yourself of these things and to have a positive outlook whilst reminding yourself of these things. And it's so often overlooked. What you eat, how you feel, what you think is individual to you. Try not to let other people influence that. Remember that you are in charge. And that's terrifying, but also it gives you the responsibility and the ability to take your future into your own hands. It allows you to take the steps that really you need to be taking because you are the one in charge. Not your mum, not your partner, not your treatment team. You need to take the steps because otherwise this is going nowhere. So stop commenting on what other people are eating or forcing other people to eat with you or commenting on other people's appearances or whatever behavior the eating disorder may be driving you to engage in. Focus on yourself, focus on positivity, be grateful, and focus on your goals. Remember that the discomfort is only temporary. It's something that will pass, but something that's going to help you grow. It's going to help you tremendously. So if you're scared of going out for coffee and cake, do it. And guess what? Do it on your own. Don't force anyone to come with you, but do it just because you want to, just because you can, just to give the eating disorder a big F you. And whilst you may not love every single part of it in that moment, I promise you, you will be so thankful, you will be so proud, you will be so grateful later when you can say, truthfully, that you've left the eating disorder behind for good. That voice inside your head is honestly no longer there. And even if you might not be the biggest fan of brownies, say, or ice cream or whatever it is, challenge yourself to it anyways. Just because, even if you don't necessarily enjoy something, doesn't mean you aren't allowed to have it. For example, I wanted to get something else at Costa. It wasn't there. Went for this instead, and you know what? I'm not disappointed. It's not my favorite, but it's still chocolate. And if you've been eyeing up that ice cream or that sausage roll or the milkshake or whatever it is, pause this video and go and get it now. Get yourself the fuel you need and deserve and come back. Join me for my little tea break. During my recovery, I think the comparison was a massive part that kept me stuck. I would compare myself, especially to my mum and my sister, as well as to a lot of my friends who would never eat quite as much as I did, and it was tricky. It kept me stuck, and it pushed me to make comments to these people. So for example, if my sister wasn't feeling well and she wasn't having lunch, or if she'd had a big breakfast and was having less for lunch, I would comment on that because that situation made me feel uncomfortable, and commenting on it was my way of dealing with it. But it was not a good way of dealing with it, because not only did I antagonize the people that I loved, it also wasn't serving me in any way. It gave me temporary comfort to then push me down again. Next meal, next comparison, it kept going in a cycle. So I forced myself to, when these thoughts came up, just ignore them. And it was really freaking difficult. But whilst difficult, it was really beneficial. It was really, really beneficial. Not only in keeping my relationships healthy, but also in just the art of biting my tongue, which is a good skill to have sometimes, and thinking before I speak, and giving the eating disorder less and less power. Over time, I found that I was no longer comparing myself to others. And the fact that I did eat more than a lot of my friends became a source of pride. Look, I can eat this much and be happy and healthy. This is what I need to thrive. I can listen to that. So before you comment on anyone's food, anyone's appearance, etc., remember that it's just a single moment in their life. Remember that you are on a different journey. Remember that these comments aren't serving them and aren't serving you. Which brings me back to the topic of what I eat in a day videos. I've been making these videos since I started this channel, for a bit of motivation, to show people what I eat, for some meal ideas, entertainment, whatnot. I want to ask you what you think of these videos. Do you think they're useful? Do you think they're not? And why is that? What videos are most beneficial for you? And what would you like to see going forward? If you have any individual questions, individual needs, consider signing up for coaching. I'm absolutely loving one-to-one coaching, and there's nothing better than a bit of personalized attention on your personalized journey, because as I said, everyone's different, and I think that's the beauty of it. So, keep challenging the eating disorder together, but also on your own. I don't know what's going to hit me first, the caffeine rush or the sugar rush.